Sometimes we need a yoga fix, and that can be defined as just a time to come to the mat. It can be a time to do a favorite pose, and sometimes we're not really sure what we're there for. In this practice, if there are poses that you're not drawn to, you know a lot of yoga, so do other poses. As in many practices that I do, I always like to have some blocks, a strap, and a blanket close by, just in case a pose comes to mind that I've got to do in that moment. We'll start standing at the top of the mat. Stand with your feet hip distance apart. Reach your arms up. Take your hands down to the mat with your knees bent and step your right foot back. Bend your right knee and draw it down toward the mat and lift it up. Draw it down again. Lift it up again. Draw it down and lift it up. Step the right foot forward. Take your left foot back. In the same way, bend the knee. Just to become acquainted with both legs, just see how as you start to move the legs, what comes up for you. What shifts that you're finding in your body. Step the back foot forward. Step your feet as wide apart as your mat is. With your feet nice and wide apart, walk your hands over to the left side. Take your right hand to the outer left shin. Take your left hand to the low back and lengthen. Just move away from the legs. Exhale, draw your heart a little bit closer to the left leg. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, draw a little bit deeper. Use this time on your mat to really get attuned to the breath. Rise up and slowly draw down. Come back to the center position. Notice any difference you start to feel. When you come to the mat, the changes are often very subtle, very incremental. Start to notice how the breath shifts, how the side body and the length of the right side now, can you feel the difference between the left? Walk your hands over to the right side. Let's even this out. Take your left hand somewhere to the outside of the right leg. Take your right hand to the low back. Lengthen and lift on the inhale. Exhale, soften and draw down. Inhale, lift up a little bit taller. Exhale, keeping your legs engaged. The feet kind of pulling in isometrically toward the mat. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, draw down. Release your hands back to the mat or the floor and step your feet hip distance apart. Bend your knees a lot. Take your hands right above your knees and lift yourself up so that the arms are straight. Draw your heart forward and lift your chin. Exhale, look in toward your spine and get the back body to be full. Inhale, nice full breath. Exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, reach your arms up. Look at your knees. See if you can take your knees back slightly. Draw the front ribs back to get the back body full. And root down to lift yourself out of the pose. Exhale, take your hands back to the mat. Step back to all fours position. In all fours position, look at your hands and spread your fingers even more and press the fingertips to the mat so that you can get a nice lift of the knuckles. Now draw your heart right between your hands. In breath takes you forward. Lift your knees up. Keep your hands to the mat. Come to fingertip top position. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, draw down. Inhale with your legs active through the action of spreading your toes. Rise up and down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, draw down. Release your feet. Come to all fours position and downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, step your feet a little bit closer to your hands. Step your feet nice and wide apart. Take your right hand to the outer left leg and bend your right elbow so that you get nice length on the right side. Release your right hand. Take your left hand to the outer right shin. Bend your left elbow. Reach down toward the mat. Come back to a standard downward facing dog, so step your feet back. When we're looking for a fix in yoga, we're looking to those poses that feel comfortable, poses that make us feel like we're back home, like we're where we should be. So see if you can have your breath have that nice easeful action. You're right where you should be at this time. You've given yourself this time to practice. Enjoy the fullness of your breath. Now walk your hands back toward your feet. Bend your knees a lot so that the thighs are almost parallel to the mat. Reach your arms forward. Now lift your chest away from the tops of the thighs to come to a nice chair pose. Release your hands back to the mat. Step your hands forward to come to downward facing dog again. Inhale, lift your right leg up and just expand nice and fully in the pose. Bend your right knee. Look forward and step the right foot forward. Try to do that lightly if possible. Keep your left hand where it is. Take your right hand to the low back. Turn your heart toward the inner right knee. Reach your right arm up. Reach your right arm over your head and enjoy the length that you get. Expand the breath to expand the right side ribs even more. Release your hand down. Step yourself back to downward facing dog. And enjoy a nice engagement. As you lift your heels up, bend your knees, lift your sit bones up. Now extend your heels down and straighten your legs. Inhale, come up to tiptoes, bend your knees, lift your sit bones high. Now straighten your legs and reach your heels down. Again, heels lift up, bend your knees, lift your sit bones, straighten your legs, and draw from the heart to the pelvis, pelvis to the heels. Lift your left leg in the air. Keep a nice engagement. Spread your toes. Bend your left leg. Open the chest really nicely. Keep the knee bent as you look forward and lightly step your left foot forward. Keep your right hand where it is. Take your left hand to your low back, to your waist. Reach your left hand up. Reach your left hand over your head. Enjoy nice fullness to your breath. Release your hand down. Step your back foot forward. Place both hands to your low back and rise up. Inhale, reach your hands up and slightly back. Exhale, take your hands to the mat. Step back to all fours position. In all fours position, with your heart reaching forward, lift your chin. Exhale, lift from the sternum back to the back body. Inhale and exhale. One more cat-cow. Inhale, move your spine with freedom. Exhale. Inhale, take your right knee right between your hands. Those of you that do pigeon pose, you might want to take your right knee toward the right edge of the mat. For those of us whose knees aren't so happy with that, you can just keep the right knee forward or some modification in lunge. From here, take your forearms down to the mat. And as you just bow forward, lift your back foot up. So it's an easy thigh stretch. So as you engage the left foot, enjoy a nice ease to your breath with the left foot engaged, lifted, the toes spread. Lift yourself up to come to just a little bit more opening in the upper chest. And perhaps you can even find your back foot. Just give yourself a nice stretch here. You want to hold on to the heel, to your pants, to your foot, whatever works for you. Twist. Release yourself out of the pose to come to all fours position again. In all fours position, draw your heart forward. Let your heart just settle down toward the earth in 8-point pose. Draw your heart forward and lift up in a baby cobra pose. Come back to all fours position. Step your left knee forward. Walk your right knee back slightly. Come down to press your forearms on the floor or the mat. Lift your right foot up. Keep the right leg engaged. Your toes spread. Just enjoy this nice full hip flexion or whatever variation works for you. And lift yourself up as you're ready. Support yourself nicely. You can grab hold of your clothing, your heel, your foot, whatever works for you. Just feel a nice elongation of the front side of the body, the right thigh. And as you're ready, you can release yourself out of the pose. Come to a plank position now. Step your left foot back. In this plank position, come to your right side, but keep your pelvis lifted so the right shoulder is not right over the right wrist. Take your left foot forward, open the chest nicely. When it's time to do yoga, when it's time for your yoga fix, these poses that allow you to open up the side body, just give you a feeling of such spaciousness. So enjoy that. As you release your hand down, now come back to the plank position you were in. With your left hand supporting you, your feet stacked, or you can have your right foot forward, but keep your pelvis lifted. Reach your right arm up. Just get this nice fullness again. This time to the right side. Reach your right hand over and allow the pelvis to stay lifted, the heart to be easeful, the heart to feel the spaciousness that you're giving it in the side body stretch. Release your hand down. Come back to downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to your feet with the heels pressing down. Reach your arms forward, lift them from the mat. Now slowly lift the upper body. Come to a chair pose. This time reach your right hand to the outer left knee. Take your left hand now to the outer right knee. Release back and drop your ribs close to the tops of the thighs before walking your hands forward on the mat. Come to a plank position again and lower yourself all the way to the mat. Once you're on the mat, interlace your fingers and press your forearms down. As you press your forearms down, tuck your toes under, lift your knees up, lift your pelvis up, walk your feet in toward your interlaced fingers, lift your right leg up, release your right foot down, take your left leg up, release your left foot down. Come back to a plank position, look forward, draw your knees down, the tops of your thighs down, and take your right hand to point the fingers toward the left edge of the mat. Roll over to the right side, bend your knees, press your right forearm down, and lift your pelvis up and take it down. One way of making the right arm feel a little stronger is to create a fist with the right hand. And if that works for you, try it. Inhale, lift up your hip. Take your left arm up and over this time. Release your hip down. One more time, let's do all the actions to get the side body long. Inhale, lift your pelvis up. Lift your left arm up. Reach your left arm over. And release down. Of course, on this side body stretch, if you want to add a little bit more action to the pose, you can take your legs in a straight leg position. On the left side, with your left forearm down, your knees bent or your legs straight, take your hand to your hip, lift the pelvis up, and take it down. Lift the pelvis up. Take your right arm up. Take your right arm over and keep the pelvis lifted. Release the pelvis down. One more. Lift the pelvis up. Lift your right arm up. Reach your right arm over. And take your pelvis down. Make your way back to all fours position. In all fours position, move your chest slightly forward. Draw your heart right between your hands. Reach your heart forward. Thighs come down. Inhale, rise up, baby cobra pose. Exhale, soften. I like going to cobra through that 8-point pose. Just engages the upper arms nicely. Exhale, down. One more. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, draw down. Come to all fours position. Tuck your toes under. Lift your pelvis up. With your feet hip distance apart, walk your hands back to your feet with your ribs floating just above the tops of the thighs. Take your hands off the mat, reach forward, hinge at the pelvis to get a little bit more opening of the chest. In this chair pose, root down to rise up and come out of the pose. Release your hands down. Step wide on your mat. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. Take both hands to the top of the right thigh. Just bow forward. Just get this nice engagement here as you take a little bit more weight on your right leg. Inhale. Come out of the pose. Turn your right toes in, left toes out. Bend your left knee and just draw down toward your left foot. Keep your back leg strong so that as you come up, you can root down through the back leg to rise up. Turn to the right side again. With your hands right above your knee, pivot on the back heel and lift the heel up. Let your left hand come to the mat. If you'd like to use a block, by all means. Lift your right arm up. Reach your right arm over your head. And invite the breath to expand into that fullness. Place your hands back to the knee where you started. And lift yourself up to come to the opposite side. Right toes turn in so the right foot is parallel. You bow forward. The back heel lifts up. Take the right hand down. Reach your left arm up. Reach your left arm over your head. Take both hands to the top of the left knee. Rise up. Now parallel your feet and take the fingertips to the mat. On the next in-breath, rise up. On the exhale breath, walk your hands over to the right side. Take your left hand somewhere to the outside of the right leg. Take your right hand to the low back. Bend your right knee. Draw the top of the left thigh way back. Reach your left elbow down toward the mat. Now take your hands back to the center position. Walk the hands over to the left side now. Take your right hand to the outer left leg. Reach your right elbow down. Bend your left knee more. Take the top of the right thigh back. Take your left hand to the sacrum. Turn your right ribs toward your left inner thigh. Release your hands back to the mat. Heel toe your feet in toward one another. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Step wide on your mat. Lift your arms up and turn your right toes toward the front of the mat. Take your right hand down to the shin. Take your left hand to the low back. Just bow into that space, just to the inside of the right leg. Now take your left hand to your right ribs. See if you can lift the right ribs up slightly. From here, you get this opening in the upper chest. Reach your left arm over your head. Enjoy your breath. Root down before lifting yourself out of the pose. Come to the opposite side. Take your left hand down to the shin wherever it feels comfortable. Take your right hand to your low back. Just let the heart just draw down. Now take the right hand to the left ribs. And as if you're carrying the ribs to lift them up, you get this nice fullness, little rotation of the spine. Reach your right arm up. Reach your right arm over your head. And from here, inhale to lift yourself up out of the pose. Release your hands and step your feet just a little bit closer together. We'll come to a squat. Some of us like coming to the squat in a wider stance, so come down to the mat in whatever way works for you. And as you park yourself on the mat, we'll set up for some seated poses. I like to use the blanket for this seated pose. It enables me to come a little bit more forward on my sit bones with a little elevation. With the right knee bent, extend your left leg out. If you've got blocks, you might want to use them to help lengthen the spine. If you've got a strap, you might want to use that so that you can take the strap around the foot. You can improvise if you don't have the strap. Hold on to the strap with the left hand. Bend your left elbow. You can reach your elbow down, maybe even using the block to help you ground the left elbow. That gets so much length to the right side in the same way that we just did in triangle pose. Back out of the pose. See if your right hand can lift up your left ribs nicely. And keeping that, reach your right arm up and over. Some of you might have the flexibility to reach the strap or reach the foot. But see if you can just work the breath to expand the side body more. On the next in-breath, lift yourself up to come out of the pose and step your left foot toward your pelvis and reach your right leg out. Look at your right toes and expand the strength of the right leg by spreading the toes. You might want to use your blocks to create this nice elongated spine. If you're using the strap, grab it and take it around your right foot. Hold onto the strap with the right hand. And have the palm facing up. Have the eye of the elbow facing up. So as you bend your elbow, you can press the elbow down, maybe on a block. Maybe you can work the elbow against the inner knee. Now see if you can just back out slightly like we did to just get a little bit more fullness. You're turning the ribs up on the right side with the left hand helping you out. You get a little bit more length as you draw yourself a little bit deeper in this pose. Notice how as you keep your left sit bone planted, you breathe into your left side ribs, and even that shorter side, the right side ribs, you're trying to continue to rotate the spine to get more length there. Inhale, rise up, come out of the pose. Take both feet together in Baddha Konasana. And lift your knees slightly. Now against that action, so the hands have lifted the legs up, almost like you're carrying the legs. Now press your feet very firmly in this prayer pose, but draw the knees down so the legs are active. Arms are lifting the legs up, but the legs are providing some resistance by drawing the knees down. Keeping both arms and legs active, draw forward. Just pay attention to your breath. And inhale, rise up. Now keeping that same action where the legs are trying to draw down, take your right hand to the left leg, the kneecap or the thigh, wherever it's comfortable for you. With the arm, lift your knee up. With the power of the leg, try to draw down. Keep that action. Hand lifting the knee up, but the leg resisting. Take your left arm up and reach it over as if you're trying to reach toward your right knee. Keep your right leg very active. Inhale, come out of the pose. Try that on the opposite side. Take your left hand somewhere to the right leg that works for you. Lift up the right knee with the left hand. Reach the right knee toward the mat. Take your right arm up. Keep a strong action with the leg, with the arm. Just reaching to the side. As you reach toward the left side, the breath is full. And inhale, rise up. Place both hands to the shins again. Lift your knees up, but resist with the legs. Draw the knees down more. Now reach your heart forward. See if you can come just a little bit further forward, not necessarily down. Keep your chin lifted. You're reaching the heart forward. On the next in-breath, lift yourself up out of the pose and come to lie down on your back and grab your strap. Draw your right knee in. Have your left foot on the floor, the left knee bent. Take hold of the right knee with your right hand and just make big circles with the right leg. Now make your right leg more active by dorsiflexion of the ankle, by spreading the toes, by lifting the toes toward your knee. Now that you've got a little bit more fluidity in your pelvic action, take your right foot up toward the ceiling, hold on to the right shin, Maybe you can even grab hold of the right foot. Draw the knee, the right knee just to the outer right ribs. Reach your left leg out. It's got this nice fullness here in the stretch. Now slowly release your right foot to the mat. Bend your left knee. Take your feet as wide apart as the mat is and just windshield wiper your legs. Reach your knees to the right. Take your arms in a cactus pose. Reach your left arm a little bit taller, maybe even to a straight left arm. Bend your left elbow again back to cactus. Lift your knees up. Take your knees to the left. Slide your right hand just a little bit further so that you get fullness to the right side. Bend your elbow. Take the knees up. Keep your right foot planted, but draw your left knee in toward your ribs. Take your left foot off the mat. Give it a big hug, lots of hip flexion here. Now take the left hand to the knee and just make big circles. Now reach your left foot toward the ceiling, grab hold of your shin or your foot, draw the knee toward the outer left ribs, reach your right leg straight. You might want to just press your right hand at the top of the thigh. And slowly release your left foot. Now that the hips are nice and open, we can do Supta padangustasana by taking your right leg up. You can use your strap if you wish. Some of you might be able to grab your big toe if that works for you. With the left leg extended, turn your right toes toward the right side and just reach over just slightly. We're not going too deep here. We're just trying to keep a nice engagement on the leg with this external rotation. You're keeping your left leg grounded. Now inhale, lift your right foot up. Bend your left knee, plant your left foot. Take the strap off your right foot. Take the strap on your left foot. Spread your left toes. Reach your left heel high. Extend your right leg. Externally rotate the whole leg as you draw just slightly over to the left side. And the challenge in this is to keep that right pelvic point from lifting up. I always find that the hand on that pelvic point really helps discipline the left leg so that you don't go too deep here. You want to keep a nice action on the right leg. That's the secret of the pose. Inhale, lift your left leg up, bend your right knee, plant your left foot with the knee bent. With both knees bent, with your feet firmly planted, press your elbows down with the palms facing each other. Lift your pelvis up. It's got this nice fullness to the upper chest. Now slowly release your pelvis down, release your arms, extend your legs, close your eyes. When we come to the yoga mat, sometimes it feels like a fix. It almost feels like an addiction for some of us. When we come to the yoga mat, we get a sense of release. You've given yourself this time to get clarity, to get understanding, to know yourself. Let your breath take you just to a deeper sense of ease. You've come to recognize what the practice brings to you, and you want more. You allow the yoga practice to give you balance, to give you that felt sense of ease. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. Out long. Now breathe very freely and naturally. Enjoy this time in Savasana. Namaste.